Welcome back, guys and ladies. What we are doing today is we are carrying on with our Vincent van Gogh Starry Night scene that we are working on, obviously. And the last few videos, we have talked a lot about how to create the sky for the background. And you watched how I created stars kind of in the style of his and how I finished filling in the sky similar to the way he would have done. And so today what we need to do is we need to go ahead and paint over the work that we've done so far. So whatever kind of paints that you are using at home, that will be fine. We have paints like this in the classroom. They're kind of like giant watercolors. So if you have a watercolor set at home that you're using in one of those little strips, that's totally fine too. If you're using something else like paint that you would use for finger paints or something like that, you might want to add a little extra water to those to make them a little thinner. Or you can spray the front of your artwork with like a spray bottle, just kind of get a good mist of layer of water on there to help water that paint down. Because with oil pastels, you don't want the paint to stick to the oil pastel. That would be way too thick. We want the oil pastel to show through. Or if you're using crayon, same thing. You may have to water your paint down a little bit extra for the crayon to show through. But, I mean, it's fine. It's whatever. So, I've got a black, a blue, and a purple that I'm going to use for my sky. And his sky is mostly blues, blue violets, and there's some darker blues in there. It's coming across kind of black on my computer screen, but it's and there may be black, but I'm going to stick with kind of a dark blue. I might add a little hint of purple here and there because, again, we're not trying to copy his work. We're trying to create an artwork in his style. Okay, there's a little difference there. We're just using the way he went about creating the art to make one of our own. We're not like verbatim trying to copy what he's already done. So I'm going to start with some blue, and how you get your paints ready will probably look a little different than the way I'm getting these ready. So I just got to get this primed up here. There's that one. And I am going to add a little black because I do want the blue to be a little darker. So I'm going to get this black ready too. Just putting some water in it. Clean out my brush. If I decide to use a little purple, now my purple's ready too. So everything's wet. Watercolors, you don't necessarily have to get wet, but these paints that we use in the classroom, they require a little more water than watercolors do. So I've got my blue ready to go there. And now basically we're just going to paint over the surface. You can go back and forth. You can go in circles, like, you can follow your lines that you did. However you want to, fill in the white is really up to you. So I'm just going to start putting this in there. And hopefully what will happen is all those other little colors are going to start to pop out. And I'm going to add a little black to that blue to darken it up so that all of my blues start to show. The great thing about painting over oil pastel or painting over crayon is that, it's that philosophy that oil and water don't mix. Oil pastels or crayons are an oil-based art supply, an oil-based product. They use wax or they use oil to create that substance. And when you try to introduce water to that, it just won't stick. So because oil doesn't absorb water. It won't soak up water. So that's why we like to use them in the art room, because it will allow your drawing to show through. I'm going to come back in here, add a little more black, I think. I'm going to really darken this down, because my lines are pretty close together. Yours at home, or if you're working with me from somewhere else, your lines may not be as close together as mine were, and that is okay. So you may not need as much black as I do, because my blue just isn't showing up like I wanted it to. So I'm kind of adding a little more black to that blue to darken it. I want a really nice dark blue. So there's one other really neat thing you can do to an artwork like this. The paint is kind of balling up on the surface of my oil pastels, and I don't really want that to happen. So I'm going to use a tissue. Tissue works better than paper towel or something like that. If it's just kind of, if there's just like too much, you know, you can kind of dab some of that back out. The paint might dry on the surface of the oil pastel or the crayon. You know, it's not gonna soak into it, but sometimes it can kind of stick to it, and I don't even want it to stick. So I'm just kind of gonna dab some of that back off, because I want those stars to really pop. And they're starting to look pretty good, I think. So I'm just going to take a wet brush with no paint on it. I'm just using whatever dirty water is in my can. And I'm just going to go back across that just a little bit, because I still want the color in between the oil pastels or the crayons, but I don't necessarily want all that water balling up on the surface. So there, I'm a little happier with that now. There we go. Brush that away. I'm going to try something I've never tried before. I'm going to pull some of the water out of that. Oh, no, that takes too much of the color off. Oh well. Live and learn. So I'm going to put a little bit of that back in. There we go. All right. So that is it for painting over the sky. Our next step is going to be to start thinking about how to add the foreground to our nighttime sky. So we've got some mountains to possibly add in. There's a little town down here below. There's a cypress if you want to add a cypress tree or two in. But that, the bottom half of this will come in the next video. So hope everybody's staying well at home, and hope to see you guys come back to the classroom soon. Have a good afternoon. Bye.